met with him, at this point, I don't hate him. I pity him because there's something seriously medically wrong with him. But anyway, hi. I am Chris from Deus Ex Machina. And I'm going to include that last few seconds of that so everyone's going to wonder, who are they talking about?
And I'm Dave from Rampant Wolf Games.
And here it is, folks. We're at it. We're at the final. We have to start thinking of things to talk about now. Because we've been talking about the top 100 for like 6 months. So now we're like, what are we going to talk about? Give me the ideas. What I'll do, I should invite you on the GMS podcast and we'll talk stuff. I'll get you as a guest star. Talk about Dave and his oversized, massive game collection. We can talk about. It's like, I have a problem. I'm named Dave, and I have a problem. I actually think it's a good idea. I should have you on. It'd be fun to get your opinion on stuff.
Because you really want my opinion on stuff.
Well, the great thing is that Paco is a very, very like you have an occasion of saying things that pisses people off. So I'm like waiting, like, and bye bye. But yes, we are finally at the top. Our opinion on the top 10 games of all time. My top 10 list. In your opinion, nothing I'm going to give you is going to surprise you in any way. I think not even the arrangement is going to surprise you.
One of mine will.
Yeah, I have one newish title.
Of my 10, 3 of the 10, so we're at like what? That's like a 30%.
Yeah.
It is Cthulhu based.
Oh, is this like? Oh God, it's like 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna throw the fucking.
All right, let's do this.
All right. Smashing scissors. You see what I did there? You thought I was gonna do paper.
I think we're gonna have to do it for every single one. Come on.
We're down to the top 10. Anyway, my number 10. We were talking about this before about the certain game designer. He makes fantastic games. He's one of those triple threats where he's a good writer, a good game designer, and a great artist. And so far, we haven't played the newest one, but I've loved a lot of
Raven Games.
Oh yeah, and this is Near and Far. Above and Below, I don't think I put Above and Below. I cannot remember. Above and Below may be on this list. But Nicole, my wife, loves it. And she's like, oh, let's buy it. I'm like, no, we're still playing Near and Far. And we're like, Above and Below is a good game. Near and Far is better, but Above and Below is good in its own way. It's once again, it has a completely unnecessary mechanic, a giant 30-page storybook that the game doesn't need. It never needed it, but it has this wonderful level. There's a way of playing. There's very little interaction, but you're still kind of playing off of each other. One person gets to be the GM when you're doing a story-based mission. The other person spins it. There's a lot of mitigation. It's a fun game. It's a game that if you lose, you still enjoyed yourself because you had an experience. And then there's a campaign version of it now that ends in a big cooperative battle, which we haven't got to yet. It's a hell of a game, and I know some people have some complaints with Now or Never, but we're looking forward to getting into it. And of course, he did Sleeping Gods, which is in the same setting. Haven is in the same setting. Is Islebound and all that stuff still in the same world? Like, so all of his games are basically thematically linked, which makes it a very, very rich tapestry. And I still think, even if we get to Now or Never, that Near and Far will probably be the best of the trilogy. And it's a fantastic game. The fact that it gives you this. I mean, even when we were designing Brothers Bond, we were trying to emulate Near and Far, and of course it's not even close to the final product, but that was an idea I really liked. I love that storybook that they have. But that's number 10. Get it out of the way. Near and Far.
All right. My number 10 is, I would almost argue that it is possibly one of the grandfathers of the renaissance of board games right now. Because we really hit a renaissance of board games around probably 2014, I would say, is when the Renaissance really took off. It was around, unfortunately, as much as I hate to give the guy credence, but I do like the guy. It was around the Will Wheaton tabletop days.
What's wrong with Will Wheaton? I love Will Wheaton.
I know, I love Will. But that was about when we finally got that Renaissance, right? That's when we started really sucking people into the board games, right? Yes.
Did you watch the Fat Man Beyond on Friday?
No.
Oh, damn, it was fun. They had Ross Marquand, who's apparently a really good voice actor, does fantastic Donald Trump and Jeff Bridges. And they just went on a ramp going, Willie Wheaton. Just like, holy, there's a pop culture reference for you. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
So yeah, this game I would say is definitely the grandfather of especially of dungeon crawlers.
Wait, so Will Wheaton did play this game then?
Nope.
Oh, he did. Okay. Well, this is just in the era.
Just in the era of it. At least the second edition was. And that is Descent: Journeys in the Dark second edition.
Makes sense. I'm actually surprised this is not higher.
This game had the classic formula of one versus all. So you had one person playing the Overlord and the rest playing the heroes. And it's a game that actually evolved because as time went by, then Fantasy Flight got into getting into digital stuff. They said, hey, we've already got a great game. What if we created a thing that takes the Overlord out of the game, and now you have an app to play with the game?
Yeah, so there's no GM.
So there's no GM anymore. It's just you play an app, and
they
hit it out of the park.
Which is the formula they've replicated 3 times now.
Yeah, and
it works every single time.
It works every single time, and they hit it out of the park. They used it in Star Wars. Imperial Assault, except for they even took it one step further where you could do skirmishes, and there's so much more that you could do at Imperial Assault. But anyways, this was the game that, in my opinion, started it all, and that's why it earns what it is, and that is number 10 on my list, Descent: Journeys in the Dark, 2nd edition.
All right. You actually want to do this?
Yeah, sure, let's do this.
Oh, you got me!
Yes!
I was thinking of doing paper.
Number 9, coming on my list, is going to be the game that I've always said, shut up and sit down, you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh. Yeah, so I'm thinking, what game did they...
Oh, you know which one it is.
So I'm thinking about the games that they either love that they're out of lunch to.
No, there's one they say they hate.
Well, I know they don't...
It's too fiddly.
Well, I know they hated Taikaido. Because that was a very controversial review when they came out against Taikaido.
No, this one, they slammed it because it was too much game. And it took up too much real estate. And there was too many expansions for it.
Cthulhu Wars.
Nope.
Because they bitched about
Arkham Horror 2nd edition.
Oh, okay. Cthulhu Wars, they were talking like, this is a $30 game and a $200 package.
Yeah. No, this is Arkham Horror 2nd edition. And it is an amazing game. It is completely different from 3rd edition, so don't bother buying 3rd edition. But guess what? You can't buy 2nd edition anymore because Fantasy Flight stopped making it.
I know. You like 2nd edition. You don't care for it.
2nd edition is amazing. It is the only game where I remember having people standing around the table going, come on, you can roll that better than that. And like
we played 2nd edition. We failed so badly.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't the game can run for 2 hours, and weren't we dead in half?
Yeah.
Like 40 minutes of the game, like, well, that was fun. What can we play now?
Well, the problem was that we had so many newbies that time, and it was just like, what should I do?
No one knew how to mitigate anything, and it was like the 3 smart people, like you and me and Sarah, were like, oh my god.
And then you had other people who were just like, I don't understand this. It's like, I just...
Were they California? I don't understand this.
Yeah, that's got to be one thing that frustrates sometimes is when you explain the rules and somebody's just like, I still don't understand. It's like, because you weren't listening. But anyways, back to my number 10, which is, of course, number 9, which was Arkham Horror 2nd edition. It is the best edition, and I'm really sad that they don't give people the option to have that one anymore. Not that 3rd edition doesn't have its place, but it's not as good. Over to you, number 9. Take it away.
Number 9 is the only game that's kind of newish here. Ooh. And it's an app-driven game. And it is so stupid fun. I can't wait to start playing it again. Forgotten Waters.
Oh, yes. That is a very good one.
Oh, my God. The fact that they actually got, like, pirate voiceover for the app. I know it's semi-co-op, in a way. The fact that there is a winner who has like the best story.
Yes.
It's stupid. don't bother. Just
I love the stories.
I know I love the story. I just don't believe the story should be a mechanic that determines that there's an ultimate winner. It should just be a cooperative experience because we have to get to this point to end the game, and the fact that some people can just have a slightly better experience, that's entirely unique on their own. The award is the fact that they made it a little further in their story. The fact that you can arbitrarily, it's like the same situation with Legendary. You don't need to have a scoring mechanic in the game. Yeah. It's a perfectly good cooperative experience.
But you gotta admit the introduction of that the Mad Libs story thing is a freaking amazing.
It is awesome. But once again, awesome. That's nothing to do with the competitive experience. There is and once again, going back to the matey, the voice going on in the app, like so many app driven games are just like text driven and they have nothing.
Yeah.
So the fact that we punched in a number and suddenly, are you traveling? Like, holy crap!
Yep, it's amazing.
Everything's voice support. I'm just like, all right, I'm hooked on this one.
Yep.
It is the best version of that storybook format that company does.
Yep.
I was so worried after Comanauts. I was like, oh my god, is this company flushing their idea down the toilet? And they came out Forgotten Waters. So I'm like, oh, thank God.
It makes you want to wish they had gone back and redone some of the other games.
Yeah, well, no, that's one of the situations. I would love them to do like a space or sci-fi game, right? But
well, they did. That's Gen 7.
Yeah, but Gen 7, like Forgotten Waters, shares certain mechanical ideas with Comanauts and Stuffed Fables and so forth. Gen 7 is very, very different.
It is.
So I was talking about that specific format, not necessarily a game the company makes. But yeah, it's just one of those situations. But if they made another game like that, because don't they have a post-apocalyptic game that's in that same format? That I've heard a lot of things about, and I don't
Aftermath.
Yeah. Because it's the same format. It's the same format, but I don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah, it's right there.
Like, is it another Forgotten Waters, or is it another Comanauts?
No, it's another or it's another Stuffed Fables.
Well, I don't mind that.
Yeah, it's another Stuffed Fables. They actually have a small version of Aftermath called like Aftermath the something or other.
It's called the Aftermath the something or other.
It's like a card game.
Aftermath.
It's around. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically I've got it, both of them, and we played the card version, the card game. And
do it. Anyway, so that's it's a pirate game. I haven't played Dead Reckoning. I've heard mixed things about it, but I don't need it because I got Forgotten Waters. It's a hilariously entertaining game. It has a medley mechanic. There's so many things. Like, there's so many other options. Like, there's tons of little books you can play with. Oh my god, it's so much fun. Yeah. Anyway, that's number 9, Forgotten Waters.
All right. Oh.
Getcha. All right. Number 8 is a game that he's gonna.
I hope so.
He's gonna mention at some point because he said I got a lot of Cthulhu games, and you can't have a lot of Cthulhu games without having Mansions of Madness on it. So
I already mentioned.
You already mentioned it.
Yeah, back in.
It's not the top. Mansions of Madness. Like if you go to BGG, it's in like the top 5 games of all time. It always sits there, which is hilarious because I find it so weirdly hypocritical. Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition. Considered by BGG as like I think it's still in the top 10 games of all time, games that it shares with Twilight Imperium, or what it may be. But I know Gloomhaven's still on that list and so forth. Seventh Continent, and to have a game with an app element, and there's still this massive chunk of the gaming population who's so virulent and insistent that you take digital elements out of my game. They get viscerally angry.
Yep.
And they get so insanely difficult to even talk to. Incensed over the fact of apps.
Well, what am I going to do 20 years from now when I can't play that because my iPad doesn't work with that game anymore and there's no support? What board game do you have that you still play 20 years later? And don't say Monopoly because we all know it sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's one of those situations where I'm like, dude, seriously.
Yeah.
And like, there's some people, I won't play a game with a digital element. But I'm like, all right. You're dumb. Mansions of Madness Second Edition is the game that kind of, in my opinion, defined app integration. Mm-hmm. There are some games, I think there had to have been a game that did it before then, but no one did it as well as Second Edition. And then they took that idea, and then they pushed it to all their other games that had the same format. And then they perfected it with other elements like...
Nope. Actually, Descent had it first.
Descent had it first?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because Mansions of Madness didn't have it initially because it came with Second Edition, but nobody plays First Edition anymore.
Yeah, Descent Journeys, something, whatever they called the digital version, Descent something or other, came out like a couple months before Mansions of Madness was reworked, and then when Mansions of Madness they announced it and it said using elements of this world, just kind of like,
yeah, and the story based. While I like, in some ways, Journeys to Middle-earth's connected story arc better, individually, Mansions of Madness episodes are so much more fun. Like, their puzzles are legitimate brain busters. There's tension. There is excitement. Every single time we play it, there's a moment where we're like, "Whoa, my God!" We're throwing our legs up. And like I said, I always remember the point, I said, let's tell this everyone, where a single small monster popped out of a library, and two characters were literally either going insane or dying, and they could not. They tried their best using their fists and someone had like a bread knife, and they could not even hurt this thing. And I was one level above, and I was running every single turn to get there because I had the gun. The only gun in the entire game. I ran, and then I fired twice and killed the creature. But then one character had like gone through insanity, and then they came back because that's how that game works. Once you're insane, you basically get a permanent disability, but then you come back. Same thing with death. And the fact that we actually won that mission too, because we actually have not failed that game yet.
Yeah, I've failed it several times.
So far, like with 3 missions or so. It's a fun game. Really tense. Really, I mean,
especially when you have people who are just like, "Oh, I want to explore every nook and cranny." It's like, get to the freaking end!
Oh, yeah. It's a game that, like Journeys, you're racing, but there it's thematically solid. And I absolutely love it. Yeah. Greatly a moody game. Enjoyable. It's Mansions of Madness, 2nd Edition, number 8. On to you.
My number 8 I love because it takes your Magic the Gathering players and brings them down a notch, a peg, or brings them down to the level with everyone else. Mm-hmm. And that is because it introduces dice, and it takes away all their power for planning and introduces that random element, and that is Dice Throne. I love this game.
Oh, yeah.
It levels the playing field and brings everyone down to the same, and I have had times where we're playing and my character would disappear into the shadows and I could be touching, it's like, that's not fair. She's like, that's my character's ability.
What do you want everybody me to do? Has your own little box with your own little abilities. It's like your own little tiny game like, this is mine.
Yep.
We played a 2-on-2. It was you? Who was... I can't remember.
My wife and Sarah. You played as
it was you and
tactician, and
it was you and me against the women, right?
No.
Oh, it was me and Sarah against you two?
Actually, I think it was a free-for-all, because I remember it was that you ended up winning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was... But
I could have sworn it was a tag team. I could have sworn it, because you two were working together, and
well, the way the game works, you could do...
Because at no point did I ever attack Sarah.
No. Yeah, I can't remember.
I could have sworn it was a 2-on-2.
I love this game. Their most recent entry, Dice Throne Marvel. Why?
Never.
It was... I was excited because I was like, ooh, and then it was like none of the heroes I wanted. It was like Miles Morales, which, no offense, has nothing to do with what you may be thinking. It's just, I'm not interested in him as Spider-Man. And it was just like, the characters, Scarlet Witch, I think, was maybe one of the, it was like the C-list Marvel characters. It wasn't like your A-team. It wasn't like Captain America, Iron Man. Like, there wasn't those.
Like, here's Iron Patriot. Like,
yeah, it was almost the same thing. And I'm just like,
The second stringers.
And even their entry before that, which is Dice Throne Adventures, is interesting, but I don't enjoy it as much as I just enjoy the original Dice Throne, free for all, knock 'em out, Mortal Kombat, let's go type kind of thing. So that's my number 8, Dice Throne.
Get to my gin. When we were talking about number 7, this was once number 1. It's still a game I absolutely adore. I can't remember. I think Nicole might have broken my streak because I still think I have an unbroken streak with this game, which helps. It makes you love a game if you always win at it. I have played. I've homebrewed this game to be cooperative. I've talked about it at length how much I love it. I don't know why I think it's the perfect die placement game. I don't know why I enjoy playing it so much because I wouldn't say take that, but there are things you can do that's very much take that. But for some reason I enjoy it so much, and because the fact that there's a game that has a slight mechanical similarity, which everyone loves and I friggin' hate, is probably the reason why I bring it up all the time, and that's Alien Frontiers. You just talked about it. Alien Frontiers has a very goofy Art Deco, kind of atomic punk, which I hate saying that term, visual style to it. And you're all basically factions that are trying to colonize a world possessing a lot of alien technology. So you're using orbital facilities, you're taking your spaceship dice, you roll them, that tells you... when you roll the die, that gives you generally 2 or 3 places, which is the first genius thing. When you roll the die, it's like, oh, I can put it one place. No. Roll the die. Roll the die, you can literally put it anywhere, depending on what the other players are placed or what you want to do, right? Or if you have other dice, can you match them? One's are useless. No, it's not. One's very useful here. One's very useful here and here. Like, there's always something you can do with your dice. And I love that. I love the resource management, and then it falls into an area control. You have lovely little domed colonies. Factions, which is expansion, which you absolutely need. Gives everyone bespoke abilities, which is really, really cool. And the fact that the company doesn't do much after that, even the company doesn't really exist because they got folded and split into 3 different titles. It's very unusual.
Salute.
Yeah, Game Salute basically got split into 3 ways, and it's very unusual. But yeah, Alien Frontiers, yeah. I still also remember when I fell in love with it on Tabletopia. This was before I kind of really dove into digital sales, and so I found a store in Vancouver, and I was literally traveling past Vancouver on the way home.
Starlit Citadel?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
And then I dropped off. Nope. Well, it's whatever's near Metrotown.
Yeah, it was Starlit Citadel. Yeah. They're gone now.
No, that's too bad.
Yeah, they folded up. They were originally ended up doing Kickstarter fulfillment and closing the storefront, and now they're just gone altogether.
Ah, too bad. So I went over there just to buy that game, and I carried it all the way back home. And oh yeah, I played it by myself. I can still play it by myself. It is a hell of a enjoyable game. It helps that there's one strategy. As long as the one strategy, I'll tell you right now what it is. If you go in with your priority is getting additional dice, because unlike other games with worker placement, you don't pay for having the extra workers, which could be a bit of a flaw. The point system is pretty also narrow. But your mechanic is, if you can get an extra player, you will always do that. Do everything in your power to get additional dice. And then if you can get more dice before the other players do, it's smooth sailing. You'll always excel. Just get more dice than the other ones and then know how to do it. And it's a fun game. I love it a lot. That's number 7, Alien Frontiers.
All right, my number 7 is a die game, basically Yahtzee reskinned, but it is amazing. I have gotten every expansion for it. It was featured on Tabletop. That's what that was called, right? Tabletop, William? Tabletop, yeah. In my opinion, it is one of the best gateway games to get new gamers into games that are a little more complex. Even though, having said that, it's just, again, Yahtzee reskinned, so is it really that complex? Not so much. But it's still a great game, and that is Elder Sign. Why? Because it is an amazing game.
I hate Elder Sign.
I know you hate Elder Sign.
There's not enough mitigation.
There's lots of mitigation.
No, there's only like one type of mechanic in the game for cooperation, and it is situational as butts. And then on top of that,
you've been playing the game wrong.
Oh no.
Because
The last time I played, it was also last time I played. I will say it was anxiety ridden. Like, it was in so much anxiety with that game because you have to, guess there's nothing you can do if you have a bad roll. You have a bad roll. You'll just fail things.
No, because you have lots. If you
I will be negative.
Reroll. You have the red die unlocked. If you have the yellow die unlocked, no, there's lots of stuff you can do. Yeah, so there's lots of mitigation. Like I said, I think you've just been playing the game wrong.
No, I know exactly how to play the game. I just don't like it.
So anyways, that's my number 7, Elder Sign.
I was making a conversation about the fact that Elder Sign is mechanically very, very similar to Star Trek 5-Year Mission.
Yeah.
And Star Trek 5-Year Mission does everything right that Elder Sign does wrong. And if you borrowed some of Star Trek 5-Year Mission's mechanics and put them into Elder Sign becomes a lot better. But they didn't do it, so you don't. So, yeah. Number 6. This is why we're going to be here for 3 hours, folks. All right, you go for it.
All right, number 6, which I'm actually surprised I put here, but hey, I guess I agreed with it at the time. It is Eldritch Horror, which is basically...
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, they're all Cthulhu, but they're all very different games.
They are. They took basically Arkham Horror, the card game, and shoved it into Arkham Horror 2nd Edition and made Eldritch Horror. So it is a faster... I'm
getting this weird pattern.
Yeah, faster, more streamlined version of Arkham Horror, but... I still miss parts of Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, but having played Eldritch Horror, I will say it is probably a little bit... It's easier to set up, but there's still a lot of depth, and I still love the player count that you can get on it, because you can't get that in Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. And again, the only thing, though, is I think they've stopped making expansions for it. And I don't know if it's even in print anymore, which is unfortunate. I really hate that. But that's Fantasy Flight Games for you. So that is my number 6, Eldritch Horror.
Mine is the opposite of that. Because it has... I don't know. That'd be really weird if they added Cthulhu to this game. I don't know how they would do it. But I'd buy it if they did. This is actually one of the first games I ever bought. And I don't mean like Monopoly. No. During the Renaissance, when I got back into board games like 5-6 years ago, when I started dating my girlfriend, now wife. Because I always forget to wear my damn ring on these things. And we learned it in a hotel room. We played it, and it's still one of my favorite games. A lot of people say it's like one of the top 10 games. We're like, what do you want? Just put this game out. We got the expansions, the theme we love for obvious reasons, and I was just talking to the game designer just last week about how much I love this game, and it is Viticulture. I love Viticulture. It is such a perfect game. It is so enjoyable. It is so well balanced. It is so much fun to play. It has just the right amount of interactivity without a lot of take that. There is so much to play with that I really like. The expansions are fantastic. There's so much things you can do. I can't believe it took me that long to get the Tuscan expansion. And we even have the card expansions as well. I don't have the new one, the New World expansion, which goes cooperative. And like I said, there was some controversy recently about the content in that game, but I'm really looking forward to finally getting it. It doesn't come out officially for everyone else for another couple of weeks, I think, maybe a month or two. But yeah, it's fantastic. It is, I think, well, I guess that's technically a worker placement, but it's like probably the best worker placement game that's ever been made. And I love the theme because I'm a big wine drinker and I love it. I love drinking wine, and Viticulture is a great game. And like I said, I was inspired to do Narromata because I wanted to do a wine tourism game because Viticulture owned the economic wine game. Number 6, Viticulture Destiny Essential Edition.
Yeah. Alright.
There you go.
Number
I think we're
5.
even on this. We're almost even in points. I think statistically we would be even because there's no skill. Anyway, number 5.
Number 5, I will say the series of games for this one. And it has such historic entries as Ghosts of Saltmarsh and the Mad Mage.
Finally.
Wraths of Ashardalon.
Finally. I knew this was going to pop up.
Temple of Elemental Evil. The Legend of Drizzt. And Castle Ravenloft. And that is the Dungeons and Dragons RPGs in a box games.
Dragonfire in this condition, or is Dragonfire 2 different?
No, Dragonfire is completely different.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
This one, also 2 different companies. Dragonfire is Cataclysm Labs, or Catalyst Lab Games, and this is WizKids, or Wizards of the Coast now, or whatever the heck it is. So this one is a great game minus one small flaw, which is that you enter a room with monsters. The monsters get to hit you first. What? Why? That's just a dumb mechanic. I
hate games with that mechanic.
Which we just homebrewed that, and actually there's lots of people online. There's like, no. If you still got movement life, you can hit first, and it changes the dynamic of the game completely. It's fun. It's light. It's a lighter version of a dungeon crawler as opposed to the meatier, grindier, beat you down one. Yeah. So that is the Dungeons and Dragons series of games. Although they changed one thing recently, which is that now they've gone, and their most recent entry, which is Ghost of Saltmarsh, gives you new stuff, but doesn't give you any of the monsters. You're supposed to use the monsters from the previous game. So basically, it's just an expansion without all the monsters. Which is interesting, but yeah. So, that's my number 5, Dungeons and Dragons series of RPGs in a box.
My number 5, although it's technically not... I guess technically I still have 2 more cooperative games to talk about. But this, I keep on saying, is I guess the most thematically pure cooperative game. It is a fantastic cooperative game because I can teach you the game in 30 seconds, and then you know exactly how to play it, and then you'll bash your head against the game. It is the most cinematic game ever. For a game that has 5 rules, the fact that simple idea creates a story with nothing other than tiles and actions, it's fascinating. And when I saw it on Kickstarter, I went halfway down the campaign and went, yep, you've got my money, and I've never looked back since. It is probably the best game I've ever backed on Kickstarter, with maybe one exception. But when it comes to a game that required your money, not like we're just doing pre-orders for a game that already existed, or it's a reprint, or it's already proven itself, for truly investing in a new company, this game was brilliant. It's Subterra. If you get people together that are friends and they've played the game before, like, what do you want to play? 80% of the time, let's play Subterra, because we can set it up in a minute. We can get some mood music going, and then we play this cooperative game. And it's a game that, yeah, we know we played on a lower difficulty, but you know what? Occasionally we'll get our butt kicked. Hell, the last time I played, we lost so badly. We lost awfully. But I love the stories that pop up. I love, based on our characters, I love the fact that I played with one guy, we barely got out, but it involved us blowing a wall between 2 caves in order for him to get out because he had an ability that could do it. I love the fact that Nicole played a diver. She dove up into water, popped up out of another lake to aggro the enemy so that my guy can sneak past the enemy to escape, and then she dove back into the water to get back out to escape. It's so many unique things that you can do, which is hella fun. And that also being said, the reason why also we lost, we were doing one of the expansions, because the expansions have really neat ideas. They're almost like semi-sequels. The core game, you've fallen in, you can't get out of a cave network, and you're trying to escape out, kind of like Descent, the movie. And then they have another one where you're going in to find 2 people that died. And so it's the same kind of mission, except you're going in willingly, and you have to grab them and then get out. And then the other one is you're going in now with weapons because you're gonna fumigate this thing of all those creatures, and you're going in to plant explosives. That was the one we tried to do, and boy did we die. It was. I think it's the reason why is because that one gives you an exterminator class, which is a really really good killer. Then when someone else picked the bodyguard, I'm like, no, we don't need two bodyguards because we have two bodyguards. The creatures won't be a menace, but then we're not going to be able to mitigate the other crises in the mission. And that's ended up what happening. Yeah, the creatures weren't a threat, but we couldn't mitigate a lot of the other crises that ended up happening, right? So that was kind of an issue. So there's certain things. And yeah, we do homebrew a few little rules. We homebrew the rule that, if you have a light source with somebody else in the same space, if your light fails, you don't die because the guy next to you has a light source. And then we also sometimes play with action tokens so that we don't lose our action if we decide to bank an action. And I'm still waiting for Subterra 2, which is about a year late now, but I have confidence that they'll eventually deliver it. But lordy, I hope they get that game delivered. But that is number 5. One of the most... If it wasn't for those 2 flaws, I would call it the perfect cooperative experience. And that's Subterra number 5. What was your number 5?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So number 4. I wouldn't even say this is... Because I think number 3 is technically... I guess technically it is a cooperative game. It's just a bit more avant-garde, a bit more obscure, abstract as a cooperative experience. But this one also was really, really high on my list. I was really surprised when it started to drop to 4. And I think I'm the only person who likes this game. Because I give it a 10 out of 10, and I say it's better than Gloomhaven, which annoyed people. And I keep on saying it's a fantastic game, and it's 100 times better than the Pathfinder card game. And that is Apocrypha. And I talk about this game up so much to death, because I love it. Thematically, its theme and its setting is wholly unique in the board game environment. Yeah, there's 1,000 TV shows that play with urban fantasy and urban horror. Not a lot of board games. Not a lot of good board games. And I will say, and the irony, the fact that he was designing this game first, then he did Pathfinder. It took so long for Apocrypha to come out, Apocrypha, even though it was designed first, came out later. But the fact that I felt that the dice mitigating mechanic in Apocrypha is superior. Apocrypha, if you play your cards right, is easier. It's a much more enjoyable group experience, and I love the weird ways it changes the game as you go through. We've completed the first mission. We're on the Skinwalkers. There's 80 more missions for us to go because I have the 2 expansions, the Devil and the Flesh. Mm-hmm. And there is so much more, so many neat mechanics, so many things, so many monsters, so many cards to mess with. It is so much. Right up with all the other games we talked about. Like, oh my god, I got to get people together to play Apocrypha again. That's the only other issue. Is getting my game group together. And it's like, oh yeah, we have to finish playing Dune because we have to get Dune to get a review going. Like, oh right, but I also want to finish off Journey to Middle Earth. And I'm like, no, screw that. Let's play some more Apocrypha because I love Apocrypha, and and the people I play with love Apocrypha. But it seems like we're the only ones that like Apocrypha because I think a lot of people are talking about, it can be a very confusing mechanic. The manual is awful, right? So the fact that there's people have said, and I like to gloat the fact that the best explanation video on how to play the game is mine, because the video that they put out is quite horrible. So I went in and said, this is how you play the game, but it's tricky. But everybody I know who plays it likes it, and no one says, hey, you guys want to play Apocrypha? I'm like, yeah, let's play Apocrypha. It's a hell of a game, and I love it. I love all the things you can do with it, and it's better than Pathfinder. It's better than Pathfinder.
So, my number 4 game is...
It's better than Pathfinder.
A game...
It's better than Pathfinder.
Yeah. I don't care. My number 4 game is...
If it's Pathfinder, I'm going to laugh my ass off.
Is a game where they decided, you know what? We actually like app-integrated games, and we're going to double down to the point where there is nothing on the components except for QR codes.
Oh, yeah.
And I think because they did this, it made it so that they could reuse components and different stories. Yeah. And it's a brilliant freaking idea.
This is the game that polarizes the hate.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, because people tolerate Mansions of Madness. People tolerate Imperial. This game came out and everyone was like, no, this line no further. Like Patrick Stewart thing in First Contact.
And that is Chronicles of Crime.
Which one specifically?
I will give it the whole set because they recently did the one which covers 1,000 years, which is the Millennium series.
Yeah, but I've heard the Millennium series is actually far better than the
Oh, it
set.
is, yeah.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's Chronicles of Crime is amazing. It scratches so many itches for me. It basically, while Detective by Portal Games was good, and I enjoyed it, and I had major experience with the game, and I loved it. I find Chronicles of Crime something I can whip out and have a quicker experience with, as opposed to having to like devote getting together the same people all the time to play, which is what I had to do with Detective. So that's why it comes in at number 4, Chronicles of Crime.
Number 4, Chronicles of Crime. I'm still of the mind. I can't remember, but I do believe, yes, I did put Detective, a modern crime board game, above that one. I still like that one better. And it's not because I'm sucking up to Ignacio Trevia. Anyway.
Sure you are.
Again, it's the second time you've done the exact same strategy.
I know.
It's like, oh,
I'll get you the
poor
next
guy
time.
using rock every single time. So my number 3 is, now, arguably I would say the Subterra and Apocrypha are better than this game, which is weird because it's number 3. But this game is a blanket term. And because it covers so many really amazing titles, it's difficult for me to put it above it. Because whenever we crack open one of these, it owns the night. And it's a long series. It's Exit.
I'm not even going to argue with you. This is a great series.
Now, there should be noted that we have played... I think we've played every single one, because there's Deckscape.
Nope. Oh, of type of ones?
Yeah, there's Deckscape. There's Escape Room.
Unlock.
There's Unlock.
Exit.
And Exit. Am I missing one? And that's in this one-shot only kind of things.
Well, they've got like Exit Puzzle or Unlock Puzzle.
Yeah, but just the talk about the brand names. Now, I have found, and this was a shock, I find Unlock, people say, oh, how amazing Unlock is. Unlock is my least favorite of the group. Because I felt their way they did things, like their timing mechanic, I did not care for. It was getting me angry, and I don't like getting angry at games like that. Deckscape is fun in its own way. It's simpler, and I enjoy the fact that, like, Exit has 5 puzzles that will melt your brain, and they're very meta in some cases, and that's what makes them, they're so much fun. Deckscape is like, we're not going to brain bust your brain. We're going to give you 12 easier puzzles that just, if they take you 2 extra minutes, suddenly you may not have enough time. But ultimately, it's not a bad experience. It's inexpensive. But Exit is the weird imagination. Like, from building a boat out of the box, for realizing that an answer to a puzzle was underneath the insert, one answer was on the barcode, or...
The one that pissed me off the most was the trying to figure out what the animals were saying but it was like, well, how do you know what the animals sound like to decipher it? And I give you a perfect example. Watching my kid's cartoon, and it's going through what the different animals say, right? Mm-hmm. Gets to the elephant. What does an elephant sound like? Well, how would you spell it? But how would you spell it?
I have no idea.
Exactly. In this game, Pawoo. Or in the TV show is Pawoo. So Pawoo. And I'm just like, Pawoo. That was what the elephant sound made, and I'm just like, what?
There are a few animals. There are a few animals that have literally, like, this is the word they say: meow, bark. Like, what's the sound a shark makes? Like, there's no sound. There's no word associated. Our pets are pets. Caca.
What's a fox saying? Yeah,
it's just like there's certain animals that have words. Elephants are not one of those. They don't have a word associated with their language. Bark, caca, moo.
Yeah.
Like, we know what these are. Elephants are not one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
But but the last lesson we had was, it really melted our brain. But it was just, and some of the solution were like, oh, come on. But the one I loved, there's a double box one where it's like it takes twice as long. So
yes.
It's like 3
hours. I think
hours.
I've got it up there, yeah.
And it involved, oh my God, it had this, I want to say dumb. It was awesome in its own way. where you had to cast shadows on things, and it gave you a candle that you had to light, and you had to position it to get the candle working. But it was not, we couldn't get it as dark as we could, and the candle being a candle is very fickle. But the fact that it came with a candle, you get to light and get to position, you're like, oh my god, some of the things they think of. So yeah, that's my number 3, Exit. And it's because every exit is a fun experience, even though you can only use it once. I actually have I have 2 unlocks, because unlocks give you 3 in a box, and we've only done 1, haven't done the other 2. We've done 1 of the 4 escape room games, get 4 in that game, and we have 1 sealed exit. We haven't done yet. Hopefully we'll do it. Anyway.
I've got tons of them. They're up there behind the Ecto one. That's where all mine are, right there.
But you've played a lot of them. I see they're all sealed.
Yeah, they're still sealed. Yeah, we played a couple of them. And I just keep buying them because I know I'm going to enjoy them.
But you know the answers still no. Like, oh yeah, I know this one. Anyway, on number 3 for you.
On to number 3 is a game that I love because it is hidden movement. And the first time I played this game, I'm like, this cannot be this much fun. And it is. It is an amazing amount of fun. And it touches on a bit of an old thing for me, which is that my father read me this story as a kid to go to bed at night. So I actually have like the old version of this book. It's like brown with like the black artwork on it. I mean, it's not like, 50s artwork, this book, but, and I love this game. It just, there's certain people I play with, they don't like it, but I love being Long John Silver in this game, and that is Treasure Island.
Really?
We played that one.
We did play that. I can't remember what happened to it. I can't remember who you were.
Long John Silver.
You were Long John. Yeah. We found you, didn't we? We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I have to admit, that's a very unique,
amazing game.
That's a very unique experience.
Yeah, and the fact that they've released an expansion for it is it's awesome.
I have a friend who's used to be a big board gamer, and for some reason he just swore off of them, and he's just like, I don't like how I am when I play them. I'm like, oh, come on. And I think it's because he played a lot of heavily competitive games that he would lose at, and I gotta find games like Subterra would be a game that we could pull him into to play because it's a fun game.
I think he would like
Mansions of Madness he owns, and so I'd like, let's play Mansions of Madness. I think I can convince him to play it because it's a cooperative experience. That would be a game like you're gonna bury treasure. You are gonna bury treasure. We're gonna play against you. I think I would say a 1 versus all, but that would probably be appeal to him because next second suddenly he gets to have all the power.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've only played the game once, but yeah, I was just like, I can see what this game's fun. Plus the whole mechanic with the whole map with the erase markers
and the overlays and that was All right.
Number 2. You thought I was going. I knew you were going to do paper. I knew he was going to do paper, and I was ready. I was ready. I'm going to look up the points at the end of this and see what. So, my number 2, it's going to happen. Let's get it over with. Dinosaur Island, totally liquid. I have the Extreme Edition. I missed the first Kickstarter. I got the Extreme version, which had the expansion, which had the aquatic animals, and that also came up with the other expansion with the water and stuff. Yeah, it has a gigantic footprint. The color palette is whacked. It's just wacky that they decided to go for that weird 70s Dayglow 70s palette. And yeah, we have the expansion. So we have like 100 minis, and we have the first player marker, which is that little wrap strap. But it's also one of those games where just like there's so much hilarity just in how you're building things, right? Like my friend William, I think he got 2nd place in a game, but it was a game where he had so much death. He still managed to get a high score, and he wasn't last place. I think he was like 2nd.
So he was engine.
Yeah, but like he did not care about security, so people were just getting killed off like flies. But he still managed to score.
Oh, so he's Dr. Wu.
Yeah, right. I've two times I've gone in hard with the Mega Raptor, which is like the colossal one. You have to spend so much security for it, and it's so much fun. But sometimes you play with other strategies. Nicole loves the petting zoo because cute, adorable little dinosaurs. But it's like you create this little thing that's perfectly personal, and you don't really think, and then you're like, oh well, okay, I guess I lost that one. But you're like, but because you want to make the best park, and everyone's park is going to feel a little different, and it's so cool. But there's so much you can do. You got the dice, you have, and then like there's a point where we compete, and then we get to the last stage, and we're just like kids at a candy store. I have all my guys, I have all this money and resources, and you just start playing with things entirely on your own board and just doing things. Go, oh, I'll do this and do this, and you do that for like 5 minutes, and then it turns in, you're like, oh, we have to talk to each other again? Oh, okay, I guess we'll do these dice. And you're like, oh, I get to play with my little guy again, your little tableau. Oh my god, it's a dinosaur world, might move up, and this might move down, but really, despite its massive footprint, it is so, so much fun. That is Dinosaur Island, totally liquid.
Yeah, you need to try Dinosaur next. Alright.
Yeah, I will.
My number 2 is kind of a sad note for me. Sad because it was an amazing game. It is an amazing game. They recently hit GameFound, and then they canceled the project because they are shuttering their doors, and the game is dead. And that is Uthia: Torment of Resurrection.
What?
Yep.
What are you? How can your number 2 be a game I've not heard of?
I know. I said
what?
there's gonna. Yep. It is an amazing game. It takes elements. I can't even say it takes elements of, because I have not played a game like this, and that is why it is so high on my list, because I cannot think of any game in all of this that is like that game.
What is it?
Uthia Torment.
Okay, you can't just say the freaking name. Like, so they went on GameFound, and then they canceled the GameFound and went out of business?
Yep.
Why? Was the campaign not doing as much as they wanted? Did they need it?
They didn't say, but it sounds like basically they're shuttering their doors, and the reasons were not given. But it's just like,
wow,
they've had.
Wow.
It was.
Oh wow.
The game is amazing.
Wow.
Like the first edition came out, or is it, maybe it's the second? I don't know. It's Daia Games is the.
So the game's called what again? It's
Uthia: Torment of Resurrection. It's
you have to get it. You have to get the game.
It's this one right here.
I've never heard of this game before.
Yeah, it is amazing.
When did it come out?
2 years ago. Maybe
You
a year
haven't even
ago.
told me about this thing.
Oh yeah, it's basically Mage Knight with RPG with it's amazing. It's
EUT.
Oh, I know what game it's like. It is like if you ever played the video game Might and Magic. You ever played the Might and Magic games?
I'm liking the that those are neat.
Yeah.
It also that's like 35 pounds. 30 pounds.
It was like it came in 2 boxes this size. Yeah.
How much was the Kickstarter originally?
I can't remember now.
Yeah. Like, is it cooperative or competitive?
It is competitive, but not in the sense that you would think of. Because it's not you're not playing against each other. It's yeah. So it's not. I guess it is competitive. Yeah. Sorry. Well, you don't actually fight each other, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's kind of like the other dungeon romps where you're competing but not fighting directly against each other.
Yeah. I think you can fight directly. Maybe I can't remember. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. And yeah, it was. Quite sad day that they canceled the GameFound. It was going to be, they were adding another like 3 or 4 boxes that size to the game, and it was just like, yes please. So yeah, that's my number 2, Uthia: Torment of Resurrection. It's an amazing game.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up again. I'm not expecting that. It's the 3rd time you've done it.
I know. All right, just let's get it on. What's your number 1?
So first of all, I was like, my favorite game is blah. What's that? I don't know, but it's a game you haven't heard of. It's blah. I love blah. It's Mountaineers. No, it's not Mountaineers. You know I dislike Mountaineers. It's Posthuman. No, it's not Posthuman either. Of course not. I haven't played Posthuman. It's the one game I haven't talked about. The one game I mentioned. It's a one game that people are going to go like...
Oh, it's going to be Feast of Odin.
No, of course Feast of Odin's way. What are you up there? It's going to be... People are going to go, well, of course it's going to be that game because it's number one on so many lists. It's like, yes... But there's also a very good reason why it's on everyone's list, because it's just that good a game. And my wife loves it to death, regardless of the fact that she never wins. No, Carcassone's way up the list. Keep going.
No.
It is a fantastic game, despite the fact that I called the creator on his BS. The fact that I love your game, despite the fact that your game is not what you sell it as. It is a fantastic game that does it's a tableau builder. It's an economic tableau builder. It is not a pro science game.
Oh, it better not be Terraforming Mars.
It is Terraforming Mars. You know, ever since we got in the big box and we've gotten the vast majority of the expansions, we're still missing like 2 expansions. Nicole wants to get them really badly. Yeah, it's just one of those situations. It looks great. We have extra boards. We have all the other expansions. We'll sometimes play the long game where we're playing for like 3 hours. We played with 2 players, 4 players, 5 players. Even the Ares expansion, which is a completely standalone game, is fun, even though it's a little unnecessary just because it kind of scratches the same itch. But it is a faster game. It's faster setup. But... yeah, everything about the game just works. Yes, it's an economic game. Yes, the art is wildly inconsistent. But it's also a game where there's 1,000 ways to win at that game. And you never know who's going to win. Like, like I said, we're playing Canvas. And I was certain, like, I think Nicole's going to win this one. And yeah, a little bit of surprise. I beat her for 2 points. But I still had an idea that she was doing well. And if she only dropped the ball in the last round, or we're playing Stellar, and like, oh yeah, you got this one. I can tell you right now, you've got this one. I can just tell by looking at it, but not Terraforming Mars. I've situations where I don't know who's going to win until the last turn, right? And sometimes I look at it and go, oh yeah, I've got this, and then she manages to beat me. And then there've been situations where I murder my wife, I wreck her. Like the last time we played it, she lost so badly, I was almost twice her points. Like, it didn't work, and I was literally staring at my cards going, this is broken. But yeah, that's the one thing, that you could find a combination of cards that really work well, but that's part of the game. You just think cards and go, oh, I'm gonna buy this card. It's expensive, but holy crap, does it feed into my system? And then you create this system, and then you just rock it off with the game. It's a hell of fun. There's a lot of variety, a lot of things you can do. We did the Venus expansion. We did the Venus expansion. That's why I got so many freaking points, because the Venus expansion gives you a lot of points, and I managed to make it work. Holy crap. Yeah, I know you seem to have a hate-on for the really popular games, and you pull out games like Euthanasia, or Euphoria, Euthevia, whatever it's called, out of your ass. You're just like, you're like the artsy-fartsy guys, like, what's your favorite movie of the year? My favorite movie is... The Blue Note. It's out of Norway. It's 4 hours long, and it's a fantastic movie. Everyone needs to see it. And the fact that it didn't get nominated for an Oscar is like, no one's seen this, no one's heard of it, and no one's gonna watch a 4-hour movie. What's wrong with you? Well, I think you guys are stupid for thinking that The Hurt Locker is the better movie. It's like, sorry, I went on a rant. But yeah. So unfortunately, a good number of my games on my top 10 are games that a lot of people love for a very good reason, with the exception of Apocrypha, which is better than Pathfinder. Anyway, on to you.
My number 1 is Talisman. No, just kidding. It's a Pathfinder adventure card game.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Pull up that. I want to see it. You're lying. You're lying. No way. No, it's not. It's not. What the hell is wrong with you?
It is so much better game than
Shadows of Brimstone. You didn't mention.
Yeah, I know.
Is Shadow of Brimstone? You own $1,000 worth of Shadow of Brimstone. Where is it?
I can't remember where it was on the list, but yeah.
Did you even mention it in your top 100?
I don't know if I did.
I was
it's
sure.
fallen from grace.
I was waiting. Like, where's Shadow of Brimstone? Because he always talks about every time we do a top 10 list of things you like, Shadow of Brimstone pops up in the list. It almost became your catchphrase. What the hell's wrong with you? Pathfinder Adventure. We didn't. I swear to God, people, we did not stage this. We did not stage
There's
this.
a reason why I was chuckling every time you were crapping on, because it's just like...
All right, you know what? You have your own one. Take it.
There's not much to talk about.
No. We're at the end of this list, so take it.
I love this game. Every time expansions came out for it, I got them. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it's a dead game now.
I think the company is gone. I think the company's dead, thanks to Mike.
Yeah, they tried to do some new things with it, where basically instead of having massive box sets that you always were buying, you just bought the core game and then you buy small expansions. Seemed like it was going well, and then it just fizzled off, and now it's kind of disappeared. It's kind of been relegated to the things that we don't talk about, Bruno type kind of things, almost, it seems like. But I love that game. I love the digital version of the game.
Oh,
that game is amazing as far as I'm concerned.
Dave, you ignorant slut. Sorry, that's an old SNL joke.
So that's number one.
What turned me off of playing that game, because I played it a few times, and then I played the digital game. I'm like, oh God, I hate this so much. I hate this so much. I hate this.
Why?
It's so frustrating. I'll tell you why, and this is something you'll totally disagree with, of course. I find, once again, I've said this numerous times, there is far more cooperation and mitigation in Apocrypha than Pathfinder. It is easier to mitigate plus and minus and rerolls of die sixes than it is scaling dice. As someone that's played with die scaling mechanics in my D&D game, you can get away with it because D&D is inherently flawed and random, but I'm okay with it because that's how D&D is. I love D&D for its flaws. But as a board game, you couldn't get away with that much, and to have no, you're moving from a die 4 to a die 6. That's so much better. Like, no, it's not as better as you might think. The fact that in Apocrypha, if you're good at a game, I have 1 die. I'm better. I have 2 die 6. I'm incrementally better than before. And the fact that I can add more dice, and rerolls, but you only take the top 3. But as you get more and more dice, more rerolls, there's a much better chance you're going to get that value. And then on top of that, someone can cooperate with you that'll give you additional rerolls, but you can cause a mutation that can make things more difficult. But that's part of the randomization, which works in your favor. So you have infinitely more control over your own abilities. But in Pathfinder, the number of times I was just a slave to the die roll that I could do nothing about. Like, oh, I played this guard to turn my D6 into D8. Big effing deal. But I could play a card with Apocrypha and quite literally double my chances to win a contest. Apocrypha's die rolling mechanic is so superior. Pathfinder just was stuck with the fact that you have to use the Euclid dice. You just have to use the Euclid dice. You have to use die 4, die 6, and die 10 because that's how D&D plays and that's how Pathfinder plays. So you absolutely have to use that mechanic. And then they forced it into a game that it's not compatible with it very well. So they have the same mechanical system he's played with. And I know it's a bigger game, but at least my game is done. My game is done. Apocrypha has 3 sets. It's a trilogy. It's done. There was never plans to come out with more Apocrypha. It is done. If you go to the last mission, and I've seen it because it was part of my review, it is complete. The whole series is done. And I like the fact that apparently there's a huge mystery in the entire franchise. There's a mystery in the franchise. There's a file you can download that allows you to piece together the clues, and they give you the clues. Mm-hmm. Nobody has solved it. Which I'm really fascinated with, because no one has solved it. Now, that being said, once again, the market's smaller, so maybe not only a lot of people have tried for it, but... Sorry, go on. Just keep on talking about how much amazing it is. It is.
It's amazing. It is
a bigger game. You've got a cajillion cards still.
Yep. And there's lots of ways to mitigate it. You can add more dice. You can have everybody's abilities where they add certain things to it. So it's all about powering up your characters. If you have weak characters at the beginning, you don't have much way to mitigate it. You have to play the game. You have to level up. So that's my number 1 Pathfinder adventure card game.
Pathfinder adventure card game? I mean, this...
I've been Dave. This was Chris. And remember, the rules are just a suggestion.
Play the game the way you want to play it. No, I mean, seriously, I'm like, we did not stage that. I swear to God, I have no idea. And then I think about it, yeah, you haven't brought up Pathfinder. And I know you absolutely love that game. But there's no way in the world that I would have thought that would have been your first one. You're just doing that to spite me, aren't you?
No. It's been that way for the longest time. They're all right there.
I know you love it. You literally own you've literally
I own all of them.
You've put Mike's mistress through college. Sorry. But like, oh my God, because even Apocrypha, which I love dearly, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Even now is not my number one. I have to kind of bend the whistle and say, no, Dinosaur, Exit, Terraforming Mars, I think are superior games. I mean, I love Apocrypha, but I never, even if I love Pathfinder, I wouldn't put it at number one. What about Madara?
Haven't played it enough to give it a rating.
You have played games once and you put them on this list. I
haven't played Madara at all.
At all?
Mm.
Considering how much money you've dumped into it? What about Mechs vs. Minions?
Fuck no, that game is horrible.
Really?
Yep.
I was like, what about this? Oh, whatever. What about this? Whatever. Shut up. I like it. Like, what about blah, blah, blah. What about D6? What about Dungeon Delver D6, the game that I told you not to back, but you backed it anyway.
Actually, I don't mind that one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, you gotta defend. Wow. Wow. Not Zombicides?
Nope.
Not Shadows of... I could have sworn... I was like waiting for Shadows of Brimstone to pop up. Not Starcadia Quest?
No. Never played Starcadia Quest yet.
Not Star Wars Armada? I'm just going to name every game on this wall or behind here. Not Coma Ward. You love Coma Ward so much. Not just Shadow Star Corsairs, which I've never heard of.
It's a pretty good game.
All right, folks. I'm so sorry. Dave's right. Dave's always right. I'm sure it's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game. So follow his recommendation and play this game. But don't bother inviting me because I'll make you play Apocrypha.